Hello, and welcome to episode 48 of the Herald's Horn. After a bit of a long break to recover, and honestly also just to not try to make the podcast during a very busy summer, we are back. Of course, we didn't make it to episode 50 before taking a break, something that will always annoy me, but hey, we have plenty of chances to make it to episode 50 now. On this one, Emma and Dan and I discuss Spiderman, we discuss the new changes to the BNR announcements, and also we talk about Through the Omenpaths a decent little bit. Also, according to EDH Rec, we now know what the best format is that isn't Commander. We talk about that as well. Without any further ado, let's get into this episode. Hello, it's time for the Herald's Horn. My name is Cal Jones, and today I am joined by the wonderful Emma, Streets of Rage's #1 fan. Say hello, Emma.
It's true. I do eat turkeys and chickens out of bins.
I don't actually know. It's Streets of Rage is like a 2D fighter from...
Have you not played Streets of Rage?
Ages
You collect GameCubes and retro stuff.
a young
You should
man.
know.
It's literally on the Switch emulator.
Yeah, it's great. There's also Streets of Rage 4 on the Switch, which is great.
I am also joined by apparently Streets of Rage's second biggest fan, Dan, better known as Moderately Anonymous MTG. What's up, Dan?
Not much. I'm here, and yeah, I would say Streets of Rage pretty fun. I've played it in the arcade mode many times.
It's very good.
Where have we been? Where's the Herald's Horn been? I never made that like classic 3-minute long podcast episode and YouTube video that was like, hey, we're taking a break. We've been gone. We took most of the summer off. We were tired. Talking and engaging with Magic is a little bit harder every single day. But you know what? All of my weddings are done. All of Dan's Pokemon playing is out of the way. Emma, she's still so buried in all of her work. Let's run the song.
I thought you were going to say she's still so British.
That would have
been better. That would have been better.
Next time.
It's back to the time of year in Britain where there's not light outside, so Emma has returned to the podcast.
I think you find we have 2 more months of sunlight. Thank you. Until the 6-month solstice of darkness and rain.
The tragic irony of it being way too hot to be outside during the sunny months.
It is for us. We had 5 heat waves this year. That is like significantly more than normal.
And welcome back. As always, we are going to jump directly into the news, and you're going to have to bear with us. We're a little more rusty on this whole thing than we have been. And by us, I mean me. First up, we're just easing it back into it this week. Right before we started this recording on Tuesday, September 9th, Wizards of the Coast, specifically Carmen Klimperens, but obviously representing all of the Wizards of the Coast R&D team and the people who make these decisions, put out an article on Standard and moving the banned and restricted announcement to November 10th. If you have been locked in at all to the discourse surrounding the Standard Magic the Gathering format, specifically its is it pile of value and VVs and cauldrons, then I'm sure you've been aware of calls to abandon the now very set in stone rhythm of banned and restricted announcements to make it an emergency ban for this very powerful deck. This article basically just says, hey guys, we are moving the next BNR. We're moving it by 2 weeks forward. We're not emergency banning VV. This is a BNR for all formats. Here's a whole bunch of philosophical reasons about we would like to not change it. I think the most impactful and meaningful ones are pretty much like their classic line of we don't want to blow up a bunch of value that someone has spent on a VV deck thinking they made an investment to play the deck for months, blah, 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 blah. And they also believe that the most sustainable and long-term healthy way to handle the format is to stick to these defined BNR cadences that are predictable and people won't be super surprised by and upset by, rather than temporarily making the format more gameplay healthy, maybe, because who knows what will happen after you ban VV or Cauldron or what have you. They would rather take the long view in their eyes and just stick with what was going to be their original planned ban announcement. But they did also admit that, like, yeah, we're going to ban VV or Cauldron or something, maybe even things from other decks as well in that ban announcement. And so we're literally moving it up so people who are playing Standard at Worlds will have a little more time to prepare, because if they didn't move it, it would basically be Worlds time immediately after the BNR. I guess also the really interesting thing here as well, they pretty much admitted, obviously they have the current cadence wrong. This is the first full year of them trying this new BNR cadence, and they said they're going to have like more places to take shots on the calendar next year, so that maybe we can avoid more of these conversations about, oh, should there be an emergency banning? Should there not be an emergency banning? Etc., etc. Emma, I assume you're pro emergency banning because you are just so tired of playing against this VV deck on the ladder that can create so much mana in such massive bursts at the drop of a hat.
So I don't play a lot of Standard, but I watch a lot of Standard. So in the last 3 weeks, we've had some high-profile Standard events, recent being Planetary Rotation at SCG Con Orlando, which saw a mono red deck, a deck that was very geared against VV Cauldron winning the event, running stuff like Nova Hellkite, running Razor King Needlehead, which is a really great way to answer Winter Night Stories, which is a really key card in the VV Cauldron deck. I understand what Wizards are doing, and I also understand they are in an impossible and thankless position, because this is really, really hard to do. It's great that they've managed to acknowledge it in their comms and going, yeah, like we're likely going to do this in November, just as a heads up. It's hard to make these changes so suddenly, just because it's RCQ season. People are looking to qualify for their RCs and get on the Pro Tour, and some of them have brought VV Cauldron because it is one of the best decks in the format right now. And imagine if someone paid at this point $400, $500 on these 8 cards.
Yeah, it's not a cheap deck to play.
And then, you know, Wizards go, oh yeah, we're just going to emergency ban this because of everything that's happened in recent competitive events. I don't know about you, but I would be very, very miffed if that happened. And Wizards just don't want to take that risk. Also, something that came up in Carmen's article, she was also talking about how, you know, not everyone plays VV Cauldron at the LGS, at RCQs and stuff. A lot of people just don't want to invest that kind of money into the deck. So meta games at a local level are a lot more varied compared to what we see at competitive events like Spotlight Series and so forth. So I think it's a good announcement. I do wish we could emergency ban it, just because we know what it does and it might get some other toys in the future. But also you have to respect the RCQ. It's something they did last year with Modern. They didn't want to touch anything during that period because people invest money. And if Wizards just ban these expensive cards, players are going to lose trust and they're not going to play in their events because they just don't anticipate when something's going to happen. Giving that November 10th deadline just gives people an idea of when to expect stuff. Also gives a breathing space for Worlds, because that was approaching very closely to the original announcement date. Because at the end of the day, Worlds is a high-profile event. It's the biggest event in Magic every year. So having a ban list that's so shortly scheduled between that and Worlds isn't a good look, because people are going to scramble and default to like Dimir mid-range, for example, and just do something else. And it's not going to be exciting to watch.
Yeah, I'm curious to see which way they end up going with it, because it's pretty strongly worded in the article. Number 2, we believe that we will likely take action in November, and they call out specifically VV and Agatha Soul Cauldron. I think it probably, like you said, Emma, it makes the most sense to just get rid of VV, because it's an inherently very strong Magic card. Whether or not you take apart this deck right now, like, it will find new toys down the road and be probably just as strong later on. I mean, I think this deck can probably survive even without Agatha Soul Cauldron. It's a very strong addition to it, but I think core parts of the deck are just very strong inherently as well. So, I mean, I think the deck probably just adapts without Soul Cauldron.
I actually think you ban Cauldron over VV. Cauldron was always...
I think it's likely the way they go.
Cauldron was always a really powerful card. The reason it's only taken until now for something like VV to come into the picture and make it as powerful as it is that Wizards have been pretty smart about what to put with Agatha Soul Cauldron in Standard. And bearing in mind also something that I haven't seen a lot of people touch on is standard rotation is changing. We don't have a rotation in 2026. We have it in early 2027. Wilds of Eldraine is part of that rotation, which includes Agatha's Soul Cauldron. So that means we're going to get Agatha's Soul Cauldron for another 6 to 7 months, which could be kind of awkward. We've seen it in the past with Gideon Ally Zendikar and Ulamog the Ceases Hunger in Standard. They overstayed their welcome. Didn't make for a great time in Standard back then. I think banning the colorless enabler is the answer here, because it's clear Wizards haven't planned to have Agatha's Soul Cauldron in Standard for longer than when they're supposed to. Vivi is a very powerful card. It reads like a Modern Horizons card. I don't know how a 0 activated Izzet card is seeing print in Standard. It's the kind of card I expect to see in Modern. Maybe. Apparently Final Fantasy was meant to be a Modern only set, so maybe it's a hangover from that. But I think Cauldron is the card you ban just based on Wizards' history of banning enablers as opposed to the payoffs.
Yeah, it, like you said, it's also just earlier in Vivi's standard life cycle, and more to the point of it being a good idea to maybe ban the Cauldron instead, is that there are like very few decks that are in Standard that are actually running Agatha's Soul Cauldron besides Vivi. If you take a look at like the MTG Goldfish decks that are playing it, the numbers are a lot lower in any other deck archetype as opposed to Vivi playing Cauldron.
It would be really interesting for me to see then if, like, you know, if they do ban Cauldron, I then wouldn't be surprised if, you know, you turn around and then there's immediately some kind of resurgence of like, is it like tempo? Is it prowess with like VV, slick shot, et cetera, those classic, you know, troopers together with, you know, what's legal in Standard right now? Into the Flood Maw, which I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see just get booted. That card is way too much rate for way too much and has been a problem the whole time. We have Opt, there's Shore Up, there's Sleight of Hand, there's Torch the Tower, there's Stock Up, there's Lightning Strike.
Winter Night Stories.
Yes, Winter Night Stories. You have like some really strong like 2 CMC non-creature spells as well. There's just like, but especially like there's so many 1 mana value spells that you can just like cast and cast and cast and cast to fuel that kind of thing. Be interesting to see if that pops up. I wouldn't be surprised if they just want to boot Agatha's out of the format, just because like even if there wasn't, you know, obviously there's currently a very problematic deck that leverages it very well. Even if they ban Vivi, I think like Agatha's is like a disaster. It's like a design disaster to begin with. It does so many things for 2 mana. It lets you spend mana any way you want to activate abilities. You have to do all this weird tracking with all your guys with +1/+1 counters have all the activated abilities of all the creatures exiled with this card. It's incidentally like a graveyard hate card that you can kind of just play, and every card you exile with it, you kind of have to track, even if they're not creatures or not. And when you exile a creature, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on a guy. It just does so much stuff. It does so much stuff at instant speed. Everything on it is relevant at all the time, and it's easy for an opponent to forget everything that it does. It's easy for you to forget everything that it does. It's just like such a weird card that I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, even if like the right choice, quote unquote, were to ban VV or what have you, Agatha might just bite the dust, because I'm sure it's kind of a mistake that they would rather just like push out of Standard while they can. And it also does, to your point, they've had to be smart about it. It restricts activated ability design space just by existing, because they have to worry about, oh, what if it breaks with Agatha's Soul Cauldron? That has to be in your mind all the time.
Also, it just gets better the more creatures are printed in Magic, which, breaking news, there's going to be more creatures printed in Magic sets.
What?
Which just raises the equity in Soul Cauldron. If it doesn't hit Standard, this applies to Modern, it applies to Pioneer. And the fact that it's also a colorless card that you can just slot in any deck, you can treat it as graveyard hate. Like, it's really surprising that people haven't realized how powerful Agatha's Soul Cauldron is. It's the card that everyone's tested when there's a new set coming out. It's like, what can I break with this? We had it with Arcanist, the Omnipotent, for a minute. People tried to chain off with that and, you know, tried to do different things in Standard. VV is the one that's just broken it because it's a zero mana activated ability that you can get around the once per turn thing as well because the way Magic works. So yeah.
So that is the BNR announcement. It'll be very interesting to see where Standard falls. How Standard goes. They did some lip service to this in the article. Carmen, she said that it is, we've seen now the emergence of this mono red deck that has fine matchups against the field and also eats VV Cauldron for lunch. There's this mono green list that people are starting to mess around. So maybe it is more than just a VV Cauldron standard. Maybe the runway that we get from the BNR will prove that out. But, I have the feeling we will not see, very much standard play over the next several months beyond what people absolutely have to do to try to get on the RC to get onto the Pro Tour.
Good thing Pro Tour Edge of Eternities is modern, eh?
Amen. All right. Speaking of all these different formats, a little fun thing here. If you've been online recently, you have been seeing EDH Rec publish a variety of polls. I don't know where the data comes from. I assume they just collate people's quote retweets and answers and all this kind of stuff. I assume it's a very
should have been more
non-scientific
mine,
process.
Man. I think, from what I've heard, I don't know that this is true, but I think that it is a poll that they have run on the EDH Rec website. So it's just EDH Rec users are answering this. I might be wrong about that. Correct us in the comments if so.
Their latest poll is best Magic format that isn't Commander, and here we have the results. First place, 19% of responders said Draft. 18% of responders said Cube, so Draft. 14% of respondents said Pauper. 12% of respondents Sealed. Then we have Canadian Highlander, 5% Modern, 4%. A 3% tie for 7th place between Pre-Modern, Standard, and Vintage. And then Legacy, rounding out the back with 10%. Poor Legacy. Can never catch a break. Notably, Pioneer is not even on here. Pioneer did not crack the top 10. Poor Pioneer. Everyone forgot you existed.
Would you say it's Pio-Far?
Would you say that, Cal?
Well, folks, that's all we have for this one.
I have no shame.
It is very funny to me that the top 3 things listed here are all effectively limited with Draft, Cube, and Sealed. Obviously, Cube is Cube is definitely different in a lot of ways than retail limited, such as Draft and Sealed, but it is almost always a Draft or Sealed adjacent type of way of playing the game. I thought that was neat. All roads lead back to limited. No matter what, if you play Magic long enough, you're going to be a limited head.
It's the coolest way to play. It's the way to play that makes me the least sad, also, I think.
Also, it's the format that's most accessible on Magic Arena.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
that's what I was thinking looking at this list, is it very much reads like a person who plays Arena and Commander, and that's mostly it.
And go to pre-releases, because I would be tempted to cross out Sealed and just put pre-release instead, because that's what most people mean, I think.
I would be shocked if there was a sizable number of people who filled out the survey who have actually played Legacy and Vintage before.
I would assume that of all of the people voting for specifically Vintage, none of them have ever actually played, or maybe they've played on MitGo. They just think it's neat that it has Black Lotus in it.
I think Vintage, I think the reason there's so many Vintage people because they play Canadian Highlander instead, because it's easier to get Canadian Highlander games with their Power 9 than it is Vintage. That's my tinfoil hat theory.
Well, I also think that Canadian Highlander is Emma might crucify me for this. I think Canadian Highlander is EDH's cousin.
Favorite cousin?
Why cousin? Because it's 100-card singleton, Dan?
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same thing, but without a commander and different life total.
Yeah, and you can play actual cards that win games, and you have one opponent instead of 3. It's great. You
don't think casting Palaka Worm with your 3-point Black Lotus is worth it?
Who plays Palaka Worm in Canadian Highlander?
Dan does.
Apparently.
Could you imagine how sick that would be?
What cube deck are you playing?
Listen, I'm playing Bant Nadu and Canadian Highlander, and Palaka Worm is the top end of it.
I am honestly not really that surprised. Like, some of the other polls that EDH Rec has done have ended up a little like controversial or whatever, because they're like, hey guys, Spider-Man is the 10th worst Magic set of all time. Or every UB set is the 4th worst Magic set of all time or whatever. Strixhaven is the 5th best set of all time. I pulled that one out of my butt. I don't remember if they put that on the best set of all time.
I'm sure that was one of the top rated.
I'm pulling it up right now. No, it's not in there. Bloomburrow did tie for 7th, though. So,
audio listeners, I made such a face. I made such a face at that, audio listeners.
Run-of-Eldraine Train is 9th.
Yeah, sure. Why not? I don't know.
Do people not remember? Okay.
Well, no, I think this is very indicative of the fact that like the average Magic player's life cycle is infinitesimally small next to us boomers.
Anyways, I'm not that surprised by the results of this one, especially because of me. Like, if I had to choose 1A, 1B past Commander, it's probably Cube and Pauper. It's probably Pauper then Cube and then Pauper. Yeah, like those are the things that I personally simply choose to play when I have the time to play them, and they're sick. I think that's all there is to say about this one. It's funny that, like, if we're going to talk about one, this is the one we have to talk about right now, and it's actually relatively non-controversial, except for pre-modern. Pre-modern getting more votes than Legacy is deeply funny, actually. That's the funniest part of the list. Poor Legacy. Can't even beat out the, like, weird, the format for real Magic weirdos. Real Magic sickos.
Great that Legacy is not in the best place it's ever been in, but also that makes me sad for Vintage, because Vintage is in a legitimately very good place and is very fun to play, although I also acknowledge it's an inaccessible format for many.
Pauper, however, is super accessible, which is probably why it's nearly like 18% of whatever it is.
And it's a legitimately cool format.
Yeah. I would agree. So that's everything about the best Magic format that isn't Commander. We've talked about BNR. We've talked about the EDH Rec's best format. So you know that means it's time for us to instead do the only other thing you can do on a Magic the Gathering podcast, which is talk about new products. It's time for the Product Watch. Product Watch! Haven't lost a step. The Product Watch is brought to you by Card Conduit, the best place to sell your silly little Magic the Gathering cards to clear out space for all these new ones we're about to talk about. Card Conduit, they have 3 different ways that you can send them cards, but all of them will get you the best buy list prices available for the stuff you're just looking to get out of your house. I've used Card Conduit a bunch of different times now and have loved the process every single time. If you use code HORN at checkout to let them know that we sent them your way, you will get 10% off of your fees, and we will get a big kiss from the people over at Card Conduit. So if you could use that code, we would really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Welcome to the Product Watch, the part of the show where we talk about all the Magic the Gathering products that are coming soon, coming within recent memory, coming out in the future. I'm not talking about the Spider-Man Secret Lairs today. Let's get that out of the way. I don't want to talk about those cards. I do not care. The Venom raised foils, though, every single person you knew that wore Cookie Monster pajama pants, all over those ones. Real popular in that demographic. Spider-Man. The actual Magic the Gathering set, past its Secret Lairs, is almost here. I think the most interesting thing that I saw while poking around was I did find a design of Spider-Man set by Eric Engelhard from earlier in the month that I feel like it never crossed my radar. I don't really know if a lot of people, at least like, you know, within my social media feeds, which are not end all be all, but it usually seems to catch whatever people are talking about. Seems like a lot of people did not really catch this article, and I found some really interesting tidbits in there, which is that much as I have suspected, they did not out and say that this was just going to be Aftermath / Assassin's Creed 2.0, but this article explicitly says the original plan for this set, the original design was 100 cards, no commons, no draft format, legal and legacy vintage in Commander with a focus on Commander. That's just Assassin's Creed again. That's just a small set with tiny little booster packs that you can open up, and you hope you open the rare you want. But it's been so obvious that, to me, that this was one of those sets that when Aftermath flopped, Assassin's Creed flopped, probably more so Aftermath flopped, they had to just bite the bullet on Assassin's Creed and put that out. But this, they had to try their hardest to pivot. And what they produced was a set that is only 188 cards. We have not seen a set this small in an extremely long time. Most modern Magic sets are 275 plus in card count. Which is a new draftable Magic set size, they say in the thing. It is designed for Pick 2 draft, a new limited format, which I believe we may never see again, where you can draft with 4 people and everyone takes 2 cards out of every pack. And that's how you draft this set. If you go to your LGS, it will be 4-player pods. And maybe we will see it again because, hey, if it's easier to fire a draft at your LGS, maybe this is actually a better way to do it than not being able to fire an 8-man pod. Who knows? And it's legal in all formats. A lot of people thought that Avatar: The Last Airbender got inserted into the schedule and pushed back Lorwyn. No, Spider-Man got inserted into the premium set release and pushed back Lorwyn, and Avatar just got pushed back farther. Why do you think we've been seeing previews for it the entire time? Because they were already set and ready to go for this time slot for us to get the set released later this year. Rather, in Spider-Man slot is when Avatar would have been, right? Yeah, we always thought that there was going to be a unannounced Universes Beyond set here. And anyways, I'm really rambling right now. This set, I hate this set. I hate this set. I have entered my actual hater arc. I have loved I've loved so many Magic sets, been annoyed by so many Magic the Gathering sets. I've been ambivalent towards so many Magic the Gathering sets. I do not like this set at all. It's tiny. It's just the worst excuse for a Magic set I've seen in a really long time. Every single card is the most over or under designed card that I have seen in a extremely long time. All just in this like terrible package of like, hey guys, look, it's another varietal of Spider-Man. Like 3 cards of the set are cool to me. And I must admit, I am also predisposed to dislike anything Marvel because the last decade plus of the media surrounding me in my adult life has been defined by the Marvel universe. So I just have to say, I'm a hater. The set feels underbaked. It's wild to me that they decided to shove this into standard. I'm sure a lot of people internally aren't that happy about it either. I could not imagine being that proud of this product. Which I'm sure is harsh for me to say, and I'm sure some people are very excited about it. Eric Engelhard seemed pretty excited about it. Sorry, Eric. I just don't like what you made. How does anyone else feel about Spider-Man? I guess that's my full thoughts about our current upcoming standard set. Maybe I should... the Gwenum, that's Bolus's Citadel, if you sneak attack it in, I think that's neat. That's cool.
It is, yeah. I saw really someone play it this weekend.
What?
I saw someone play it this weekend, and I said, is that deck good? And they said, well, does a Bolas' Citadel on turn 3 win the game? And I said, sometimes. And I said, well, there's your answer.
They're like, I'll leave you with that one.
Yeah. And then I watched them get out Gwen and activate it on turn 3, and it did not win the game.
Oh. They said, oh, there's a land on top of my library. Pass.
Yeah, no, I am also not a fan of Spider-Man in general. I have nothing against Spider-Man, but I don't know. I've certainly had my... I don't know. I've had very relatively few sets that I've like had a personal vendetta against. This is not one of them for me. I would say that I'm very indifferent, though. I really hope that Pick 2 draft does not become the new normal. That sends shivers down my spine as a person who loves Limited.
Emma,
Hi.
Spider-Man's biggest fan?
Just so forgetful. I cannot name you a card from that set because they all say Spider-Man or spiders.
I got one, Spider-Ham, the ham one. Peter Porker.
I can name like 6 cards from the set, but it's just the cards that
I'm gonna jumble a lot of card
for a CDH
names.
set review. Like that's.
I'm gonna jumble a lot of cards together just because they sound so similar. And
I mean, how many different Peter Parkers are there?
It's a whiplash after Edge of Eternities when Mark Rosewater put that thing out on his blog talking about how do you feel about having 2 legendary characters of essentially the same name, but one as an uncommon in the earlier, like their origin story going into a mythic when they've like reached their potential. And people are like, yeah, it's cool. No, it's a bit much. And then we just got like 50 different versions of Spider-Man. Insert positive thing, Spider-Man. And it's just like, I get it's Marvel. I get that's how Marvel has done Spider-Man over the years. The reason I think it feels so disjointed is because Spider-Man has been so disjointed for Marvel. It's not had a consistent story. These things don't really have stories. They have multiple stories at once, different arcs. That is very hard to translate into a Magic set, especially one that people are wanting to play or trying to play. I am personally off Spider-Man because I'm similar to Cal. I was a fan of Marvel during the MCU in the 2010s, and I got burnt out massively just because of the aggressive marketing and the exhaustion of that brand or the company Marvel. And I'm just like, great. Nothing, if I see anything Marvel now, it just does not interest me just because I remember that period in my life. And I feel this way about Magic. Pick 2 draft, I think is interesting. I want to see how it actually plays out because it's 4 players, which is really funny because a pod of Commander players is also 4 players. So I wouldn't be surprised if Wizards tries to push this as a way for Commander players to not play Commander so much in their stores and get into draft. I think that's an avenue they will potentially go down because as much as people don't want to admit it, Commander is the most popular format in Magic. That's great. It doesn't always make stores money. It doesn't fire. It's harming other formats like Standard, like Limited, like Modern, and so forth. And if you just got 4 people playing, like a bunch of people playing Commander all the time, they're not looking to play other formats. They're just looking to get their Commander fix, and that's it. If cracking open a couple of boosters of Spider-Man and just doing pick 2, which, by the way, a pick 2 draft is very quick. You barely no time, and you're constructing and playing. If it gets more people into other formats, so it isn't just people wanting to play Commander, I think that's a positive as well. I'm looking to experiment with pick 2 draft with my cube because I've struggled to get 8 people for a cube. I'm like, what about 4 people? This is something I can work with. But as the set itself, just nothing on my end, which is going to be difficult because I've got to cover the set as well. So
I think I'm looking at the card file right now and I'm actually just getting more and more mad.
I'm not angry. Like, I don't hate the thing.
No.
It just does not interest me, but it's also not for me. I think people hating on Universes Beyond is becoming a cool, trendy thing that makes people look cool and making it a personality trait, which I think is a problem. People should not do that. And no matter what happens with UB, it's a slight bad thing. People are going to dogpile on it, which is another reason why I don't think VV is going to get banned in November, is because it's just another bit of ammunition. People go, oh yeah, Universes Beyond's a mistake, blah, blah, blah. And they can just go with that narrative. Not that they need much to do that. So yeah, like you can not like a set and move on. That's totally fine, but don't need to like treat it as like your personality, because we've got back-to-back UB sets, which does suck. Let's be honest. It's not a good ideal schedule. I imagine Wizards internally probably agrees as well. It's not ideal for them because they have Lorwyn, which is this plane and this set that people are really excited for because it's a Kindred set and people love Kindred sets. And now that's been pushed back to January. So we've got this Marvel set that's been forced to expand because of probably some of Hasbro's needs and then like community feedback. Aftermath and Assassin's Creed were not good. No, they were fine sets, as in the cards were fine. Yes. How they were delivered as products. The business model part is weird. How they delivered the product SKUs was not good. If you're opening a 7 booster pack and you're opening 2 of the same card, that's not a great experience. People aren't going to want to buy those packs. It happened with Spider-Man, and will probably still happen with Spider-Man. But yeah.
I think my thoughts about Spider-Man are developing a little bit more in real time. I think like I've been annoyed about Universes Beyond for a while now. Obviously, it's been a long-term theme of the show. But I think where Universes Beyond has been largely an unarguable success beyond commercially is that like I think they have done across the board a very good job, like 98% hit rate of every single card like in a set in a commander deck, like doing something, being about something, accurately portraying something from the IP, interacting with the mechanics, interestingly, all that kind of stuff. Until now, it's like in Spider-Man, there's just like commons like Oscorp research team, 3 in a blue, 1 5, 6 in a blue, draw 2 cards. What is this? Rivals of Ixalan? That's a Rivals of Ixalan card. Almost certainly. It's just like Mysterio's Phantasm, 1 in a blue, 1/3, flying vigilance whenever this creature attacks mill a card. Why? I mean, that's a little more of a cohesive design. I get it now. Never mind.
That's one of the few cards I think might see playing Pauper, on a side note.
Oh, yeah, it makes sense.
It blocks fairies.
Well, no, I understand where you're coming from, though, Cal. It's a set without a lot of subtlety or elegance to it. Like you said, there are so many like small things to appreciate about a lot of the other universes beyond sets, and all of this, I think, is just so ham-fisted. Peter Porker, pun intended.
I think that says more about Marvel than it does Wizards. I think Marvel as a brand and what they produce is not elegant. It's very sort of in your face. It's very, here's multiple different things happening at once. Are they cohesive? No, it doesn't have to be, because you're following XYZ superhero that you're really into. It doesn't really matter where the story goes. I think the way Marvel is set up when it comes to doing comics and all the other media bits they do, it's not meant to be cohesive. It's not meant to be elegant. And when you're pushing that into a design space that is very elegant and cohesive, as something like Magic, it doesn't hit well. And you're going to get that tension, which I think is what is happening with Spider-Man, which also, by the way, we're going to get multiple Marvel sets. This is not the first one. So it'll be interesting to see maybe next year or the year after, like how they manage that, because I would like to think future Marvel sets will actually be bigger sets as opposed to what we're getting now. This sort of, band-aiding, trying to make it so people will buy it.
I'm sure that this is going to be a huge lesson for them and what they do with the Marvel sets coming forward, regardless of what else happens.
Yeah, it'll be a huge lesson, and they should do it again, because this set's going to sell like hotcakes anyways.
And I think when people don't realize, especially like you're very online and franchised, biased towards, disliking universes beyond, a lot of people are going to play Marvel Spider-Man than you realize, and a lot of them are going to be people who do not engage with this game online, not on Arena, not on Reddit, not on Blue Sky, Twitter, whatever. You're probably going to see more people playing it unsleeved on random tabletops in cafes and stuff than any other Magic set.
I do got to say, there's, of course, also Through the Omenpaths. Through some kind of, assumedly, we have speculated before about why this set can't be on Arena. I mean, I would guess that all the paperwork was signed to not include a digital distribution when this was originally going to be a weirdo little Commander set, and there wasn't time for them to fix that. Which is a more realistic, I think, outcome than they couldn't make a card game about Marvel because Marvel Snap exists. But their solution is Through the Omenpaths, the exact same designs, all with different names and flavor and art, but mechanically exactly the same rules text with different names. That will be on Arena only. And I gotta say, I don't know if it's because I've just been so down on Spider-Man, or I don't know if it's just actually really cool, but looking through this card set, like looking through this card file was kind of just delightful for me, actually. I love to see all these like crazy creatures that, they had to do a lot of creative work, a lot of creative lifting to be like, all right, how do we make another spider hero in here? And I've enjoyed a lot of what they've done. And it is also kind of very much in like the old core set philosophy pre, core 2019, where they started putting even the core sets on specific planes and stuff. A lot of it is it feels very much let's bounce around every single, plane that there is. There's very obvious Bloomborough stuff here, very obvious Capenna stuff here, very obvious Innistrad stuff here, Duskmorn, and several like very Duskmorny cards. There's a card with a kind of plane agnostic, very a Liliana card. Liliana, bringing up some guys. It's very much just like a jump around. There's even like an Outlaws of Thunder Junction card or two, which are all just like super sick. And a lot of really cool art contained within too, rather than having Spider-Man doing something. It brought me a whole lot of joy, and I can't really decide whether it's because it's really well done or if it's just my brain is sick of UB, and it's fun to see a whole bunch of Magic IP in front of me like the boomer I am. But
I think it's more well done by comparison.
Fair enough. I like that they got the weird freaky creature from Star Wars 2 in here, the Clone Wars. Chizak's Apex Arachnosaur. That's just from Star Wars, the Clone Wars. I don't make the rules. That's all I have to say through the Omenpaths. That's all I have to say about Spider-Man. What about you, gamers? Anything else? That's all we got for the product watch.
I think with Through the Omenpaths, I'm really surprised it's actually called Through the Omenpaths. Because when Blake did the original announcement, I thought, oh, it's just called Through the Omenpaths. I was expecting Through the Omenpaths something else, and not just Through the Omenpaths, because I thought that was like an umbrella term, like Universes Beyond is for these sets. And it's like, no, it's just Through the Omenpaths. So it's like, cool, what's the next one going to be? Through the Omenpaths something else? Or like, because the set code is OM1, so I assume it's going to be OM2, OM3, and so forth. But yeah, it's just weird that they didn't add like an extra subtitle to this set.
Yeah, I wonder if that means that they're going to have to, like, I don't know, assuming from the set code they're going to continue to call it Omenpath, but maybe like a different verb.
Yeah, it's just a bit strange. Although it'd be cool to see the cards in like a Mystery Booster 3, maybe in a Secret Lair, maybe, you know, in like a Omenpaths remastered in a couple of years once the Marvel deal is up and they just repackage all these cards into a draftable set, like an actual draftable set. I think Wizards are leaving money on the table by not doing this, possibly because they can't because of licensing and agreements. I don't think people I think Wizards might realize, but I think people generally underestimate how much people will spend money for non-UB stuff of cards that already exist. Spite is a powerful thing, and people will spend money for that spite.
Well, I think too, it's I wouldn't be surprised if we do see maybe some of these in printing pretty soon, even if it's not going to be its own like entire standalone thing, but I wouldn't be surprised if suddenly in a next pre-con, or something like that, if suddenly there's I just closed my tab, so I can't throw an example card out there. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see a cool new pre-con that cares about a big mana, maybe there will be a giant craft helm in it. 1, equip 5, whenever a creature you control with mana value 5 or greater enters, you may attach this equipment to it, +4/+4, just like those. Some of these things kind of just are like so kind of gimme stuff that, we may very well immediately see them reprinted somewhere. But
bearing in mind I'm only on Blue Sky and sometimes
yes.
on Reddit, I'm seeing a lot of Fleam on my socials,
people are
which
obsessed
is
with Fleam.
People love Fleam, so Wizards will no doubt do something with Fleam, who is the
Green Goblin.
It's the Green Goblin mythic flippy, the flip side of that, and it's just a derpy little goblin with wings, and it looks great. To be honest, it's very magic, and I hope Wizards do more with it. And
you would not know this, Emma. Funnily enough, Fleam is almost certainly by far the most CEDH playable card in the entire set. I mean, have you read what Green Goblin does?
No, I told you I've glossed over so many of the cards.
Fair enough.
Even though it's a smaller set, I plan to look at it properly next week. But
I'll read you his text really quick. Green Goblin, 1 and Grixis, 3/3 Flying Menace. Spells you cast from your graveyard cost 2 less to cast. Each non-land card in your graveyard has Mayhem. The Mayhem cost is equal to its mana cost. So each card you discard gains Mayhem. So if you discard a card when the Green Goblin is out, you can recast it from your graveyard. It's just very silly. It's just an egregiously silly card. Actually, probably the most CEDH playable card in the set is Web Slinging. I mean, not Web Slinging. Holy moly, Spider Senses. Spider Sense.
I've seen that card. That card looks good.
It's a negate plus a stifle.
Yeah,
that you can play for 1 mana.
There's also the 1 and Split Azorius legend artifacts and creatures your opponents control come in tapped.
Oh, so true.
That one's very Canadian Highlander playable.
I missed
Same
that
for Vintage
one.
as well.
Okay, it's time for us to go on to the final segment of the show. We haven't done in a really long time, but I figured it was a decent time as any to do it. It's time for the co-host notebook. Welcome to the co-host notebook, the part of the show where the co-hosts decide what we talk about. Emma, it's been a while. Do you have anything written down in your co-host notebook for this week?
I don't. I made a joke that I am still British and apologise for the fact that I'm still British.
Sorry, I'm still British. That's what you've got.
Which Cal and I both said we accept.
You should bleep that out anytime I say British, like it's an expletive.
Hey, I'm still.
Outside of still being British, what have I done in the last 4 months? 4 months, 3 months? I played a load of video games. Played Expedition 33, which is great. Played through Mass Effect again because it's a year around the sun, therefore I play Mass Effect again. And I also lost 20 pounds in the last 2 and a bit months as well, so pretty much
I see those walks on Strava.
Yeah, you're Strava, buddy. You see it. Don't know if you actually do it on Strava, but I do see the occasional like. But yeah,
I do. Hey, I run.
It's true. I see every time you tweet about it. Yeah,
yeah. I do tweet. I'm going on a run. I've started
accountability
posting.
post.
Yes, exactly. I'm going
on a run.
I'm
on a diet and trying to work on my relationship with food, and it's going quite well so far. So,
hey,
yeah,
very nice.
About it for me.
Dan, how's that binge eating going?
I was gonna say, yeah, I've just been eating tons and tons of cake. Do you remember that scene in what is it, Matilda?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, the little boy eating all the chocolate cake. That's me.
It's like that meme. Emma wakes up having lost 10 pounds, and she's like, "Where's Dan? Who do you think took the 20 pounds?"
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I've just been doing that and tons of video gaming this summer. I have been on many hikes. I've been informed that I should let you all know that I've been on many hikes. But I think I have been doing even more video gaming than I have been hiking, to be quite honest. I'm trying to get my spot on the Shine Get podcast, my favorite podcast.
We did just record our first episode with a guest, which was supposed to be published on this last Monday, but Murph's been busy, so hasn't come around. Kind of been saying that
it wasn't me, seeing as I'm your number one fan, but okay. Yeah, I've been getting into a ton of retro video gaming. Honestly, I've just been building up the GameCube collection, doing lots of Pokemon gaming on the Game Boy Advance, and that's been a lot of my summer. Outside or inside looking at a Game Boy Advance.
That sounds like that sounds about like peak summer. It sounds like like the idealistic like middle school summer, honestly. You're like recapturing your inner child.
I have not hiked a mountain, and that's something that I did want to do this summer, but honestly, it's just getting to be about mountain hiking weather, in my opinion. It's a little bit cooler and much more palatable.
Awesome. My summer has been defined by traveling the whole dang time, which is a major reason why the podcast has not happened for the last 3 months. I have not had time to think about, record, post, edit, anything about this show. So many weddings, several magic events, 2 family vacations, bought a car. Ugh.
Wow, so adult of you.
Ugh. I hung out with Dan for like...
I was going to say we saw each other once
18
or twice.
hours.
All right, once then.
It was sick for a little Alua and Ian marriage celebration get-together.
Nice.
We might have saw each other another time beyond that, actually. In my heart, I feel like we did, but...
I thought you came and maybe you did some recording with the Scry Babies, but I can't remember. Maybe I'm just extrapolating.
No, I'm 0 for 3 on Philadelphia visits turning into Scry Baby recordings when all 3 of them were explicitly maybe going to be Scry Baby recordings.
Because every time I tell them, don't film me, he's too tall.
Yeah, exactly. I show up and Dan's like, do not put that guy on the show.
Too tall. That's my one rule.
Anyways... That's all we've got for this episode of the Harold's Horn podcast. Man, I don't remember how I used to take us out of this thing. I'll have to remind myself.
Yeah.
I'll have to go look. Thank you so much for watching/listening, and we'll see you next time. That's what Murph says on the outro of the Shine Get podcast.
We've been Game Nights. Thank you for listening, and tune in next week.
Thanks for watching/listening. And that came out of my mouth, and I was like, wait a second. That's not what I say. Anyways, that's all we got for this episode of the Harold's Horn podcast. I've been your host, Cal, and for Dan and Emma, happy horning. Bye.
Happy horning.
Oh, happy.
Flawless. That was flawless.
Flawless
No notes.
victory.